All right. We're talking today with Casey Potts of Grand Rapids, Michigan. The interviewer is James Smither of Grand Valley State University. Now, Mr. Potts, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? For instance, where were you born?
I was born in Grand Rapids.
And when? What date?
Grand Rapids.
Yeah, and what date were you born, or what year?
January 5, 1918.
Okay, born in 1918? All right. Now, what did your family do? What did your father do for a living?
My father was a carpenter.
Mm-hmm. And did he have work through the Depression?
Oh, yes. Yes, he worked most of the Depression because he was a good carpenter,
Mm-hmm.
and he built houses.
Mm-hmm.
And so on, and so he worked pretty well during the Depression.
Mm-hmm. Now, did your mother work as well, or did she just stay home? Okay.
No, she was.
She worked on the farm.
Okay. All right. Now, how far did you go in school? Did you finish high school, or just 8th grade, or?
I finished the 8th grade.
Mm-hmm. And what did you do after you finished school?
After I finished school,
Yeah.
I worked on our farm first.
Mm-hmm. And then, did you have other jobs before you went into the Army? You worked on the farm and anything else?
You worked at a gas station.
Yes, I worked in the gas station on the corner of Division and
76.
76, wasn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, before Pearl Harbor, before America got into the war, were you paying attention to the world news? Did you know there was a war on, or that kind of thing?
Oh, I knew there was a war on, yes.
Yeah. And did you think that we would get involved in it eventually?
Well, I think so, but we hope not.
Mm-hmm.
Put it that way.
Right.
It was just like everybody else.
Right. Now, do you remember hearing about Pearl Harbor? Do you remember hearing about Pearl Harbor?
Yes, I remember Pearl Harbor.
And how did you learn about it?
Pardon?
How did you learn about it? Did you hear it on the radio, or someone told you?
Trying to think. I think it's mostly radio then,
Mm-hmm.
at that time.
All right. Now, then did you enlist in the Army, or were you drafted?
I enlisted.
Okay. And why did you enlist?
Why did I enlist?
Mm-hmm.
Because I figured I was going to go anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess that was the reason why. And also, my brother-in-law, Val's brother,
Mm-hmm.
he had to go. And so I thought maybe if we go, we can go together
Mm-hmm.
and stay together.
Okay. So were you married at that time?
Pardon?
Were you already married then?
Val,
Were you married when you joined the Army, or did that come later?
He enlisted and we got married.
Okay. So.
We got married on the 3rd of October and he left on the 13th of October.
Okay. So you joined the Army and got married at just about the same time.
yeah,
All right. Now, when you enlisted, where did they send you for basic training?
Basic training. I took basic training in. Just a minute now. Val, stay close by, will you please?
Okay. Well, we can get back to it. Do you remember anything about basic training? What did you do there?
What we do
Yeah.
in basic training is just mostly preliminaries.
Mm-hmm.
Put it that way.
Did you
And,
do a lot of marching and things like that?
Pardon?
Did you do a lot of marching and exercise and that kind of thing?
Marching, and we did exercises such as we had to. One thing I can remember we had to do, we had to go through a certain thing by yourself. I mean, not nobody was with you. They did that as an individual, and you went through a course, you might say, and they gave you so many bullets, and you had to have one left when you got through. And I can remember that.
Now, were you shooting at targets or something in this course?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
There were different things that they were shooting at. And they would pop things out at you. In other words, they had been a long way, and all of a sudden something would come out, you'd have to shoot at it.
Okay.
And
Now, when you were before you were in the Army, did you ever go hunting or use guns at all? Were you familiar with guns already? Had you done shooting or hunting before you were in the Army?
I didn't get you really there. I didn't get that.
Okay. Well, you had to do a lot of shooting when you were training, shooting guns.
Yes.
Did you do that? Had you gone hunting when you were a kid? Did you know how to use guns?
Yes, we went hunting and stuff like that, yeah.
Okay.
But this was, why you'd be going through this thing and all of a sudden something would pop out
Right.
and you'd have shoot at it.
Okay. And were you successful? Did you have one bullet left at the end?
I had a good rating in there, yes.
All right. Now, what other kind of training did you get? You started in basic training, and then after basic training, what did you do next?
After basic training, well, I was in the band. And so really that was our job.
Okay. What instrument did you play?
I played French horn.
Okay. Now, how did you learn to play the French horn? When did you learn to play the French horn?
I learned to play the French horn in the Army.
Okay.
See, they needed a French horn. And so they wanted to volunteer to take
learn
lessons on a French horn,
Okay.
which I did.
Now, why did you volunteer for that?
Why did it?
Yeah.
Well, really, I like the band, and I wanted to stay in it if I could, and which happened.
Now, did you figure that if you were in the band, it wouldn't be so dangerous? Would it be safer to be in the band than to be a rifleman?
No, not really,
Okay.
because there's nowhere, actually, when you get in the service, that you're safe.
Okay.
Really.
Now, about how big a band were you in? How many men were in the band you were with?
How many men
How many
were?
men in the band? Yeah.
I would say possibly 20 of us.
Okay. All right. And how long did you spend in the band in the United States? How long was it before you went overseas?
I was in the band.
Yeah. And And when did you go overseas?
And, let's see. Boy, I'm trying to think how long it was.
Well,
I don't know where my wife went.
that's okay. Now,
She knows a lot of that stuff.
all right. Well, because in your biography here, the one place you refer to as going to, you were in the Philippines at the very end of the war.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you serve anywhere else before the Philippines? Where were you before you went there?
It's in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
But all the while,
Mm-hmm.
it's in Baguio,
Right.
which is the capital
Mm-hmm.
of the
It was
Philippines.
the summer capital. Yeah.
Summer capital.
Okay. So that would have been 1945 then.
Pardon?
That would have been in 1945, at the end of the war.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Before you went to the Philippines,
Yeah.
before the Philippines, where were you?
I was in boy, I'm trying to think. It was in Illinois.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. So you were at an army base in Illinois then. Were you training there? Was you?
yeah, that was just temporarily, you might say.
Okay. Now, what unit were you serving with? What division were you part of?
I was in the 33rd Division.
Okay. And when did you join the 33rd Division? Do you remember that? Was that after basic training, or did you transfer there from somewhere else?
I was, no, I went in there pretty much right after I got in there.
Okay.
And I know that they needed band moved.
Mm-hmm.
And so they stuck me in a band right away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only unit I was in the band.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the band was stationed at headquarters, you might
Mhm.
say.
Right.
And we did other things. We had to take our basic,
Mm-hmm.
put it that way.
Okay.
That's the first thing we had to do. We had to take our basic right away.
Okay.
And just like it,
Right.
just like all the rest of them.
Right. All right. And then once you were in the band, who did the band perform for? Who was your audience?
Who did they perform for? Everybody.
Can you explain that?
In other words, we performed for the officers,
Mm-hmm.
and we performed for all the units that were around there.
Mm-hmm.
Not only our own units, but other units as well.
Okay. Now, did you ever do performances for the community, for the people who lived near the bases?
Yes. And we went into some cities, you might say,
Mm-hmm.
and marched down the street and so on, and played.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you do dances and things? Did you play dance music? and that
Yes,
kind of thing?
we
All right.
did that too.
Did you ever perform with a USO group or anything like that?
Pardon?
Did you ever perform with a USO show or things like that? Or did you have other entertainers come in and play with you or anything like that?
Yeah, now and then. Now and then we had somebody come in with us. But mostly it was just on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And we had quite a band.
Now, what kind of music did you play?
What kind?
What kind of music, yeah?
Everything. We played for dances.
Mm-hmm. So you played swing music and big band music kind of
Yes,
thing?
yes.
But also marches and military
Yes,
music?
yes, yes.
All right.
Everything. And of course, we did a lot of marches and so on.
All right. Were there any kind of special perks or privileges to being in a band? Did you get to do a little better or have a better time than the regular soldiers, do you think?
Well, thing we did get was like if we played like for the officers.
Mm-hmm.
We ate with the officers.
Okay. Did the officers eat better than the enlisted men?
Yes. I was going to say, that was one advantage. And, but, no, we had to go pretty much according to what the enlisted men did. I mean, as far as everything else was concerned.
Okay. Now, before you joined the Army, had you ever taken a long trip anywhere? Because with the Army, you're going across the country and eventually across the Pacific. Was that the first time you'd ever taken a long trip?
Yes, really overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the first time I went overseas.
And had you ever taken a long train trip before?
A what?
A long train ride, a long train trip?
No, not really.
Okay. So what was that like for you to get to do all that traveling? I mean, did you like seeing all these new places?
Yeah, it was. The one thing that happened was my brother-in-law, I enlisted, see, because he had to go.
Right.
So I said, maybe we can go together. And, you know, it don't happen very often. You know, we were discharged together, too.
Now, now, what unit did he serve with?
He served with the infantry.
Okay. Was he in the 33rd Division, or did he go somewhere else?
He was in a division that was that his company, put it that way, hung pretty well with our outfit.
Was your okay?
And so we saw each other every now and then. And I think the most was about a year that we were separated of the 3 years that we were in.
Okay.
And that I didn't see him at all.
All right. Now, do you remember about when it was that you went out to the Pacific? Do you remember shipping out on the Pacific?
Yeah, let's see. I don't know what she beat it for, because she knows a lot of that.
Okay.
See.
Well, do you remember what kind of boat you were on? What kind of ship? What kind of ship did you sail?
What kind of ship was we on? Then I'm trying to think. It was a big ship.
Okay. Do you think it was like an ocean liner, a passenger ship, or was it just a troop ship?
No, it was not a troop ship. It was a passenger ship, which we were fortunate
Right.
in getting.
Yeah. Now, what kind of quarters did you have? Were you packed in with a lot of guys in a small space, or did you have some more room?
Pardon?
What kind of quarters did you have on the ship? Where did you sleep on the ship?
Where'd we sleep? Well, of course, we all had different rooms, but I know I was below deck.
So below the water line?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And how many guys were in there with you?
Oh, boy. I don't remember just how many there was in the same room I was in. But altogether, I think there was about 300 of us were shipped at the same time, put it that way.
Okay. Now, do you remember, what was the weather like on the ocean when you were sailing? Was it good weather or
The
bad
weather?
Yeah. Did you get seasick?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well face it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and did you get over it, or did you stay seasick for most of the trip? I mean, were you seasick a lot, or just once, or?
You have to be in that mic that close. That seems to be echoing back at me, and I don't. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Were you seasick a lot? I mean.
I was seasick.
Yeah.
I got seasick.
Okay. Now, when you were sailing, did you go to any islands before the Philippines? Did you stop any place when you were on the boat?
Let's see. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we went right straight through.
You went straight there. All right. Now, when you got to the Philippines, do you remember what the place looked like, what the island looked like when you got there?
The Philippines?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. What did you see when you were landing?
What did we see?
Yeah.
Well, trying to remember. It's a long time
Okay.
ago.
Well, did you land in a town with a harbor? Did you land at Manila or someplace else?
We went in at Baguio,
Okay.
which is the summer capital
Right. But that's inland a little bit, though.
of the Philippines.
But that's inland. That's not on the shore, though.
No, it's trying to think now. It wasn't very far inland.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. Now, what was the country like around Baguio? What was that like?
What was it like?
Yeah. What was the country like there? Yeah. Was it jungle, or was it plantations or farms?
It was where we went in there. It was it's just a settlement, put it
Okay.
that way.
Okay.
It's more or less like a settlement
Okay.
there.
So it was settled. There were houses and buildings and roads and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And we did, I can remember that we had to go uphill all the way.
Yeah, because it is up in the hills, because it's cooler
Yeah.
up in the hills.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Now, was your unit in combat? Were you fighting the Japanese, or were you just marching?
Was it what?
Were you in combat? I mean, was there fighting going on?
No. No, it was, well, the Japanese were up there.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, they got scared out.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got up there, the Japanese had already left.
Mm-hmm.
And, but then we had to go out and into the jungles there, you might say.
Right.
And it was very jungly-like.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to go out looking for them. And every once in a while, some would run into a Jap.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, the Japanese had left. I mean, might say the main
Right. The main force had left.
forces had left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever see any Japanese soldiers yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Were they
But
prisoners?
like I
at that
say, that we looked for them.
Mm-hmm.
We had to go out and look
Right.
for them.
So, were you going out on patrols? I mean, you're in the band, but did you have to do what the other soldiers were doing?
Yes, at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at times we did. And but being in the band, we had a general that was very much in favor of the band,
Mm-hmm.
which helped us.
Right.
It really did, because if there's anything special or anything, we had to play for these things. See?
Mm-hmm. Now, did you ever play for General MacArthur or anybody important?
Yes.
All right.
MacArthur, the one thing I'll tell you right now that I always remember about MacArthur was when he came up with his Jeep. That Jeep had all leopard skin seats in it. That's one thing I remember. Mm-hmm. It was sharp, boy. It was all leopard skin. Seats were all leopard skin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
And I always remember that about MacArthur. And that's the one thing that, as being in the band, that we were fortunate with, was that if anybody like that came in or anything,
Mm-hmm.
the band had to be there, see.
Right. Do you remember anybody else who was famous or important coming through? Just other generals, or were there politicians or people like that?
The politicians, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see too much of them.
Okay.
But the generals that came through was, I remember one of them was Clarkson, and he was quite an important general
Mm-hmm.
at the time. And but other than that, we were more in the background.
Right.
Put it that way.
Okay. Now, I'd asked a little earlier. I mean, if you saw, did you see any Japanese prisoners come through? Were there Japanese who were surrendering then?
We saw some.
Mm-hmm.
We saw some.
Yeah. And what did they look like? What did the prisoners look like? Were they well fed or in bad shape or?
Good shape.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they were in good shape. And Japanese looked quite a bit, I don't know. They were bigger people, and a lot of people think the Japanese were all small. That's not true. They're tall ones too.
Okay. So they had the tall ones there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Now, do you remember seeing the Filipino people? Were there civilians in the area?
Filipino people, they were they're very good to us. They were happy to see us, really. And well, you could see why, because they were being impressed, you know. And we were treated very well by the Filipino people. Very well.
Now, did they need food and help from the Americans then? The civilians in your area, were they getting food from the Americans or things like that? Did you have to help them, or were they doing okay?
The Filipinos?
Yeah.
No, they took food when they could get it. Put it that way.
Now, and did some of them work for you? Did some of the Filipinos work for you when you were at Baguio?
They, yeah, they carried ammo for us and things like that. But they put the women to work. The guys didn't like to work too well. But the women liked to work. And they could work. They carried a lot of ammo for us. But it was always women. And in fact, where we went to, first when we got there was all uphill. And then women carried all that ammo uphill. And they were strong. They're very strong. But they, I can remember they carried a lot of ammo up for us.
So even when you were going out looking for the Japanese, they were coming along with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I see. Most people don't know that something like that happened.
Yeah, that happened.
All right. Okay. Now, when you were at Baguio, did you have barracks you could stay in, or were you sleeping in tents or on the ground, or what?
Well, when we got to where we were going, put it that way, then we, trying to think, we slept in tents. And mostly tents.
Yeah. Now, was it really hot there, or was it really hot where you were?
Was it hot? Yes, it was warm and sometimes hot. It had the seasons, more or less hot and cold too, but not real cold.
Yeah. Did it rain a lot?
Did it rain?
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit of rain.
Okay. Did you have a lot of bugs and things like that? Were there mosquitoes and bugs and things biting you?
There's mosquitoes, I can remember that. Yes, there was. But actually, they had us pretty well equipped with stuff that could help us along with that.
So like medicines or mosquito
Yes.
mosquito nets and things like
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you have to take Atabrine? Did you have to take the anti-malaria drugs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing we had to take was Atabrine.
All right.
We didn't like Atabrine.
Well, why didn't you like Atabrine? What was wrong with it?
Huh?
What was bad about Atabrine?
One thing, you turned yellow from it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, it turned yellow from it.
But did you ever get malaria?
Pardon?
But did you get malaria?
No, I didn't get malaria, but some of them did.
Mm-hmm.
But it depended on how strong a person was.
Mm-hmm.
And one was stronger than another.
Mm-hmm.
And I never got malaria, but some of them did.
Right.
And they were sick,
Okay. Yeah.
very sick.
Now, did you stay in the Baguio area? Did you stay in that area until the end of the war then?
Pardon?
Where were you when the war ended?
I'm trying to think. When the war ended,
Mm-hmm.
I was still in the same place.
Okay. And then did you stay there for a while after that, or did you leave?
No, we didn't get to pack up until a little later.
Mm-hmm.
And then we, trying to think of how long it was before we were shipped back.
Maybe October or something like that, in the fall sometime?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was later.
Yeah. Now,
I think it's November when
yeah. I think November is when you were discharged, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you were leaving, did you go through Manila or out of a big city or port? When you were leaving, how did you go?
Oh, we never got to Manila.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to, but we never did.
Okay.
And we're supposed to go to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we were supposed to.
Okay.
And never saw that either.
Mm-hmm.
It always seemed they were going to bring you somewhere, you know, where it was a little better.
Right.
But it never made it. And
Okay. Then, how did you get home? How did you get home? Did you?
How'd we get home?
Were you on another ship or some? Were you on a boat or a plane or what?
We were on ship first.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was trying to think of where we, just a minute now, in Seattle, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Came in at Seattle.
Okay. Now, do you remember what kind of ship were you on?
What kind of ship
Yeah.
we were on? We were on a regular ship. I mean,
Regular troop ship or
No.
a military boat or another liner?
No.
A passenger ship?
passenger.
Okay.
We were fortunate there
Mm-hmm.
because the food was better for one thing. See?
Mm-hmm.
And but we were fortunate there. But being in the band, they did. We got favored a little bit because whatever dinner was on that ship,
Mm-hmm.
you like to have the band, see.
Right.
and we used to play for dances and stuff like that, you know.
Now, were there dances on the ship?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Were there any women to dance with?
Oh yeah. Yeah, as long as there was officers around. That made a big difference what officers you had. But they had women around there.
Now, were they service women or were they civilians or
Huh?
were they WACs or service women or
Civilians.
civilians? Okay.
We didn't see any wax where we were.
All right. Now, when you went to the Philippines, did you see any Americans who had been in the Philippines during the war? Any of the ones who were held prisoner by the Japanese?
No. It was, I'm trying to think. We had quite a few Japanese around where we were, anyway.
Right.
And they were good. I'll got to say that. They were good to us, very good.
Oh, so they were. I mean, the Japanese were good to you? The Japanese were good to you?
Yes, they were.
Well, who were these Japanese people? Were they prisoners or civilians or?
They're people, they're civilians. There's a lot of Japanese in, I gotta think back.
Did you ever go to Hawaii?
Hawaii?
Did you stop in Hawaii on the way out or the way back?
I think we were. Just a short stop.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that because that was one place where there were a lot of Japanese people.
Yeah.
But they had them in the Philippines too?
In the Philippines,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause that's another thing that you don't really hear about. You hear about the Japanese soldiers being there, but not any civilians.
No, there were Japanese there, but as far as soldiers, no, they watched the Japs pretty close. They watched them very closely, and some of them were all right, some of them weren't, and they didn't want the American soldiers to mess around with the Japs. They didn't want that at all.
Okay.
And but the Japanese treated us all right. I've got to say that.
Okay. Well, were there Japanese civilians who worked for you or did things for you? When you say they treated you well, what did they do?
No, they didn't have them working for us at all.
They were just polite and respectful? Yeah, okay. Now, are there other events or things that you remember from being out in the Philippines, individuals, funny stories or things like that you haven't mentioned to us yet?
In the Philippines, no.
Okay.
I got to think back.
That's okay.
know we liked it in the Philippines.
Well, did you get much free time? Did you have time when you were not on duty where you could do other things? Or did you just have to stay on your base? And
No, we stayed pretty much on the base.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Now, when you got back to the United States, you got back to Seattle, and then did you come straight back to Michigan, or did they send you someplace else?
No, we were in Illinois for quite a while. Trying to think.
Do you think you were near Chicago, or were you somewhere else?
We were west of Chicago.
Okay.
Trying to think.
There was a Camp Grant. Was that?
Huh?
Were you at Camp Grant? It was in Camp Grant, I think, was near Rockford. Because Fort Sheridan is by Chicago, and then there's Camp Grant, and there's some other
Yeah,
places.
I'm trying to think of where we was. If I remember right, it's Fort Sheridan.
Okay.
I think that's
All
right.
right. Well, that's a little north of Chicago. It's kind of near
Yeah,
Lake Michigan. That was a big Army base there. And,
Yeah.
And they processed a lot of people there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were there.
Okay. And were you discharged from there?
Trying to think of that again now. All I know is they stuck us on the train.
Okay.
We came in by train.
All right. Now, I've got a different question for you. You got married right when you joined the Army. Now, when you were first married and you were in training in Illinois, places like that, did your wife come to live with you, or did she stay in Michigan?
No, she came. Her and see my brother-in-law went the same time
Right,
I did.
right.
We went together,
Mm-hmm.
and we were discharged together also. And but we weren't together all the time
right.
while we were in service.
But I was asking, did she follow you when you were in training in the United States? Did she live near the base where you were staying? Or did she stay home?
No, she was. What was it? Trying to think of where it was.
Well,
She was with us.
okay. So so you could see her regularly then, at least while you were in the States?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And so she kept you out of trouble?
In fact, we lived off of the post,
Right. Right.
and just about like being a civilian down there. And
Because you could go to work in the morning and then come home at night, and so you could go to work in the morning. and come home at night?
Yeah. And but we were in shoot, where was it? I'm trying to think of where we lived there.
Well, were you in a house? Did you have your own house, or were you in an apartment or a room in a house? What kind of place did you live in? Were there other people there?
Yeah, I know. We lived in an apartment or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then when you went overseas, did your wife go back to Michigan then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she got back to Michigan.
All right. Now, when you finally get home, you're out of the Army, you go back home to Michigan, what kind of work did you do after you got home?
What kind of work did I do when I got home?
Yep.
Trying to think of what I did when I got home. I don't know where she went. I wish I knew.
But did you change jobs and do different things? Was there one job that you had for most of your career?
Oh, well, a minute now. Trying to think of what I did.
Well, that's okay. Now, if you want to look back at the whole experience of being in the Army, was it a good experience for you? Did you enjoy being in the Army?
Well, I can't say it was that bad.
Mm-hmm.
I can't honestly say that. No, I can't say that I enjoyed it because I couldn't be home.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, no, I can't say I was treated well in the Army.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Of course, I was in the band,
Mm-hmm.
and that made a big difference.
It certainly did.
Made a big difference. We were, in other words, we were entertaining people.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Now, did you play music at all after you got home? Did you keep playing the French horn?
No. No, French horn's a kind of a instrument that you don't play by itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Put it that way. And I thought first of getting in the band.
Mm-hmm.
And then thought, boy, if I get in that, then you get involved in that, and then you're going to be busy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of got out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And thought I'm going to settle down, take it cool for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did.
Right.
And I never got involved too much band-wise at home here.
Okay.
No?
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us today then. Okay?
You're welcome.
All right.